In most of Douglas Harding's writings, including the ones that are sort of semi-fictional, he tends to make reference to metaphysical texts. Those are his primary sources. And they're very extensive sources. He quotes from biblical texts, but also from Rumi, from Eckhart, from Blake, we've got hundreds of sources, all broadly speaking within the area of the perennial philosophy. Perennial philosophy being that set of ideas which Aldous Huxley suggested are found within most metaphysical traditions. And Harding seems to be quoting from those traditions, which is it's really interesting. It works terribly well. But I think one of the problems with that is it does locate his work very firmly within the mystical traditions, really. He comes across as a kind of, the Western mystic, something like a Blavatsky or something like that. He has that sort of a quality to him, which is slightly unfortunate, really, because I think his ideas are worthy of more attention than perhaps is often given to writings that tend to quote from those kind of sources. I think one of the sources that that could be used to articulate Harding's ideas more effectively are some of the ideas that you find in Phenomenology. Certainly Merleau-Ponty, in one of his writings, Phenomenology of Perception, I think, but it might be something else. He certainly makes reference to the idea of a body without a head, which is one of the key motifs within Harding's practice, as well as his writings. This idea that we are kind of headless to ourselves, because from our first-person perspective we can't see the head. In Harding's writing, various things follow from that, in terms of a set of practices aimed at achieving some kind of enlightened state, or at least a recognition of one's already enlightened state. And in Phenomenology, the Merleau-Ponty idea that we're kind of headless is intended to sort of posit the body in the world. We also find it, I think, in Heidegger. Heidegger makes this reference in one of his writings that there's a way of looking in which our head is open to the world, he says, head open to the world, that there's not two environments, the world outside of our head and the world inside, which we somehow in which we stage simulations of the outside world, or which we create representations of the outside world. He says the outside world is where we do our thinking, our head is open to the world and the world pours in. So I think there is a tradition, certainly within those writings in Phenomenology, that accord quite well with Harding's work. But also from some of the writings that in neuroscience and in kind of applied phenomenology that spill out of that also. I'm thinking of Max Bellman's here and his work on reflexive monism, in which the mind is not locked up inside a box made of bone, as Harding might put it, but is kind of extended out into the world. It's a phenomena. Mind is a phenomenon which emerges. That's a terrible word, emerges, but it's a resultant from an interaction with objects out there and objects in here. The brain, the space, the light, the object are all constituent parts of a certain sort of aware perception in Bellman's. And people have already mentioned in some of these other videos J.J. Gibson's idea of affordances, in which our body is located in space. Merleau-Ponty's idea of maximum grip, in which the world and ourselves position themselves in such a way that our perception is enabled. And of course that perception, being part of our visual consciousness, is also part of our mind and part of our self. So my walking across this little bridge here, and my hand finding its way onto the handrail, is a complete experience. It's part of the affordance, perhaps the maximum grip that the world is offering me, and which I am inextricably impacted within. So I think all of those ideas taken together, and others which I haven't got onto yet, all of those support Harding in a way which is probably more academically credible, if that was important. I don't think it was terribly important to Harding. It certainly isn't to most of his admirers. But if that was important, to find support for his ideas, not within mysticism and metaphysics, but within empiricism and academic traditions, then certainly those can be found within phenomenology and increasingly within consciousness studies and neuroscience.